open the meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the March meeting of the Clinton County Council. We'll begin, as we always do, with a couple of administrative items, beginning with the approval of last month's meeting minutes, the February 14th minutes. Clark, have you had a chance to review those?
I did review those, and they looked pretty thorough to me, so I would make a motion to approve the February 14th minutes.
I'll second that.
A motion by Clark and a second by Jeff to approve the February minutes. All those in favor, raise your right hand. The motion carries 7-0. Normally, we would have next Brett Barton with Community Corrections, but Rhett's a little under the weather today, so we'll skip the report for this month. We do have our written report from Nancy Ward with probation in your packet, again showing a good 0 month for the juvenile detention costs. So a good start for 2023. So that lets us quickly move right into the new business portion of the agenda, and we'll begin with Phil Triplett, who's here to discuss the CF1s for NHK and Bailey Trucking.
Morning.
Good morning.
Phil.
I'm Phil Triplett here for Bailey Real Estate Holdings and NHK. I'm filling in for Jay, who's out of town. He normally does these for you, but I've done a couple of these. Don't really have any sort of presentation to make. We've submitted the CF1s showing that we believe we are in substantial compliance on all 5 abatements that you have in front of you. The one thing that Jay wanted me to note for you is on the NHK, the current number of employees is reflected on the CF1 to be slightly under what was anticipated when this was applied for, but they've got a note on that, if you look at the asterisk on the bottom, that NHK is relying kind of heavily right now on temporary employees, and they are working to fill those with full-time positions, but right now they've got temporary employees covering the shortfall, I guess. Also, Amy Decker of NHK is here. If you've got any questions, she's available to answer them. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you got.
Are you limiting, we're stopping with just the NHK at this point?
However you'd like to handle it. I'm thinking I'm here for 5 of them. I've got 2 for Bailey and 3 for NHK.
Any questions on the NHK? There's 3 of those, a personal property and 2 projects, if I remember right.
Yeah, we've got a 2017 real
2017,
property, and then 2 2020s, 1 real property, 1 personal property.
Right, and that would be the new facility.
I wouldn't mind hearing from Amy, a little update on employees and how it's going. I know it's a difficult time everywhere. Exactly.
It is really hard to get full-time employees. We try to tempt to full-time with a lot of them, but the number of people who make it through 2 days of work and come back is not very high. People just don't want to work. I don't understand why. But we are making improvements in processes in the plant, and whatever we can do to make it better. We offer bonuses if they're there for 90 days. Then periodically they get more bonuses, but I think the 90-day one is $1,000. So that's how hard it is to find employees.
How far away do your employees come from?
We have a lot that come from Kokomo. Kokomo, Lafayette, Frankfurt. I think that's the majority of them.
Is there anything we can do for you other than approve this?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I kind of make this an annual event, but for the benefit of the 2 new members here, this has been sort of the poster child for how the abatement process is supposed to work. It's been kind of a public-private partnership that has started with a business that had less than 100 employees and now is at 700 and a fraction of this assessed value up to, many, many millions of dollars of assessed value. So I always I want to make a special effort to thank both NHK and Bailey Trucking. They both are very much the same. They've chosen our community to grow in, and it's been a great partnership. So I have no further questions. Does anybody else? Let's, I can't remember if we voted on these each individually or as per company.
I think individually,
In-
would that be?
Okay.
I think so.
Well, then I'd entertain a motion for approval of the CF1 for the NHK personal property abatement, which is the first one on my list.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, a
Okay,
motion
second.
by Jeff to approve, second by, I think, did Joe, did I hear Joe?
Yeah.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Next would be the real estate for the 2017 project.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Clark.
Second.
Second by Todd. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And lastly, the real estate abatement for the 2020 project.
Motion approved.
A motion by Mike.
I'll second.
Have a second by Carol. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Bailey Trucking, any comments, Phil, you'd like to make about the Bailey Trucking?
No, sir. I think the CF1s reflect that Bailey Trucking is ahead of its numbers on just about every category. So.
Yeah. They're very much linked with NHK, so as one grows, so grows the other. I'd entertain a motion. We have two real estate for one for the 2012 project, so this should be the last approval we give on that one. And then the 2015 project. So first 2012.
Make a motion.
Have a motion by Joe. Second. Second by Mike. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And lastly, the 2015 abatement.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jeff.
Second.
Second by Clark. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Bill, thank you for coming over.
Thank you all very much.
Are you going to leave originals for me to sign after the meeting? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next up on the agenda, Commissioner Brewer is going to introduce our new communications consultant.
Good morning, counselors.
Good morning.
So, as many of you recall, last budget cycle, we had worked with you guys to come up with a plan to kind of bring our communication of the county into what I'd call the 21st century. And so, through the process, we were able to vet and look at different opportunities, but we eventually landed on Tammy Sander, who is with Mother of Pearls, and she's here with me today, which I believe everyone's had the opportunity to meet this morning already, but I just wanted to bring her here and introduce her and talk about her exposure to council as well as the commissioners, but to all our departments in the county. And so she's been working with us for 3 months now, and already I think she's worked with some of you individually on some stories, but the departments, the reaching out and the communication has been fantastic. And even from the public's perspective, I've had a lot of comments that they appreciate getting these stories out and learning new things about our department. So
Great.
I'm introducing Tammy, and if you have any questions, I'm sure she'll be glad to answer those, but obviously she'll reach out on opportunities to work with you guys. So.
Nice to officially meet you. We did have a little photo shoot session here to get pictures of all the members before the meeting. So, Tammy, have you had a chance to meet all the department heads?
No, not all of them, but it is my goal.
Okay.
I love county government. I love the stories there are to tell. And I really feel like a lot of times residents don't completely understand what their county government does for them. So I thank you for the opportunity. Clinton County feels kind of like home for me. It's much like the county I grew up in Iowa. So I'm excited. And if any other department heads have story ideas or things they'd like to share, I encourage them all to reach out.
Great. Good, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the 2023 salary ordinance. We need to reapprove it. We've made, here in the first couple of months of the year, some changes. Some of those budget items that we have to change, at the January meeting and so on and so forth. So items that are changed are in your copy and highlighted in yellow. And we just need to have a vote to make this the new official salary ordinance that reflects the changes we've discussed in previous meetings.
Ellen, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the amended salary ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Gets that completed. All right, Chris Overman, got a quote on a new chiller for Parkview.
That's a misquote. It's a boiler.
Boiler, okay.
Yeah. I think you guys got to hold all three of the quotes. Little background real quick. I think you guys know I get as much use as I can out of items. That range we had was 30 years old when I got there. The average life of boiler is 15 to 20 years. This was installed in 99. We're looking at 24-year-old boiler. We've got a contract with Irish Mechanical, and Dave, their maintenance guy's been telling us for a couple of years it's time to look. The problem, as you just heard, is getting people to want to work. I contacted 15 boiler companies in the last 6 months. I got 4 out, 3 quotes. So that's where we are today. But this, if you look at, obviously, it's going to be a more efficient, which is going to help us with water and electricity. And the last thing is, it just makes that building more viable, like the fire alarm system we put in a couple of years ago. But my recommendation, I would go, I don't always go with lowest bid, but I met with these guys, come highly recommended. I'm looking at moving to a contract with these guys to do my maintenance and service if they do install it. So that's my recommendation, and hopefully we can find the money. If not, we'll try again next year. But I'd mentioned this at the last
Yeah,
budget
yeah,
hearing.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
this isn't a surprise.
Yeah, and I didn't put it in because I didn't have quotes.
Right.
You know, you can't get guys to come out and give you a quote.
But your system is currently working okay.
Oh, yeah.
This is proactive.
Well, and Alan, here's the problem. Dave, that was with Irish, is out there, the maintenance guy, was coming there 20 years from Irish Mechanical. He kind of, at the end of the year, we'd see items that we knew we would need. We would make sure we took money out of the budget that was left, stock up on parts. He knew the system, he knew us. He retired.
Okay.
So I got the new dude. And it's a whole training process again, and it's an old system. So, yeah, we're good for now, because it is a safety issue. If you look at my clientele, we've got backup plans. We could move them all in a bigger area and get some heaters and whatever. Yeah, it's time, 24 years, so.
Go ahead.
Chris, so is the company, Fluid Technologies, is that who we're talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
out of, I think, Kokomo.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The timing on this may be good in the sense that, and I don't want to get too far ahead of the game, but Britt and I were on a call here recently where we were led to believe we may get a special distribution of additional tax monies on the income tax. They give it, the way it works is the state gives us money a year in advance of when it's collected, then they collect and we settle up. And if they collect more than they gave us, we can get an extra distribution, and it appears as though with the very strong wage gains of the last year that that's in fact gonna happen. I'm not sure of the amount, and I'm not sure of the timing of it, and so if you would be willing to be patient for a
Oh,
month.
heck yeah.
And
Yes,
let us find out if that in fact comes to pass, that would be, to me, a perfect use for that money. Because it wouldn't impact any of the existing budget then.
No, that'd be great. I tried to get on that last bit of COVID money, but again, I didn't have quotes to come before. I was wanting to jump on this January 1st, and here we are today,
Yeah.
so. No,
Well,
I
the main
appreciate
thing would be do you know, has the contractor said, I mean, is the system readily available that it would be installed over the summer for
The
next year?
good thing about these Lochner, these German-made, there's distribution here. He's talking 6 to 8 weeks out,
Okay,
and parts and continued. That's the good thing, and I had them quote me on the same identical boiler, all 3 companies. So there is local distribution. That's good.
You
That's
know
something
what-
I did look at.
do you know what the ongoing maintenance support would look like?
With Irish right now, we have a contract. We pay $4,180 for 48 hours of service throughout the year.
Okay.
And then there's additional monies in case we have repairs or issues. But that's what we're going to next. Once he knows that he's in, then we're going to look at, I'm going to switch over to these guys.
You think it'd be roughly the same though?
Well, I told him what I pay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have to go with him.
Right.
Yeah, we can use another company, but I think he wants our business. And it'd be better, the guy that installs it, he's also gonna bring that backflow down. We have it tested annually. It's way up high in the air for some reason. He's gonna get it more in a better space for the guys that are checking it, so. And I'm looking at now, fire alarm companies. with Apex going out, we're just getting some quotes. Jordan and I have been working on that, but they also do backflow. And my current company's charging me way too much.
Okay.
So we're gonna look at switching to them.
Well, I appreciate the quotes, and if you'll bear with us for 30 more days, we'll hopefully can make a more definitive decision.
All right, no, that's fair enough, Alan. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. All right, Sheriff Kelly, the SRO report. Something we've been talking about for a while now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I sent out an email with a PowerPoint. Did everybody get to take a look at that?
Yeah.
I've got some printed out versions here if you're more like me. Paper. Hey, I'll bring them up to you.
Thanks.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, just go ahead and pass them out.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got one. I got mine on my PowerPoint.
Now, I was in charge of stapling, so please understand
So
that.
high tech. No, I work for Dr. Hannah. He's high tech. He's taught me everything.
One of the features on this printer, and you got it backwards a little bit there, but, and we've worked pretty hard with attorneys, with the school attorneys, the legal deputy for the sheriff's office, and as well as finding that happy medium. The schools have sought and found the resources, the funding for the two officers. What we're looking at here is that the school, the available funds for us is our county portion, the Lit Public Safety Fund, Lit Correctional Facility Fund, and also the Federal Inmate Housing Fund are places that we can look at for those two, salary lines. I had the salaries broke down, and you can look on about page 3 there. It has everything broke down. Salaries paid by the school, $61,886. We're not even going to discuss the grant because it was unavailable last year. We will try and apply for it again this year, but I don't know that it'll even be applicable the way the grant's requirements are. The insurance, FICA, Family HRA or HSA, the pension, annual life insurance, and we have the total contribution down there at the bottom at $42,455.51, and that is times 2, so $84,911.02 would be the county's contribution in that benefit package. The salary obviously picked up by the two schools, Clinton Prairie, Clinton Central. They went out and worked and got the approval for the funding, had to get extra funding for it, and I think it's something that, obviously, grandchildren, children in general, our own children go and participate at these schools, and it's something that I think we have the ability to put more protection in those schools. We have the ability to have a mentor there every day, the same person, not changing out every 4 or 5 days, a different officer, every day a different officer, to build that rapport and the safety plan that the schools have. And as well as the calls to service at the schools have increased at Clinton Prairie and Clinton Central. I didn't bring the numbers, but I can email you that, we are busy at those schools. Juvenile crimes and mishaps or things that happen at the schools, truancy, all of the above have increased. And I'll let Councilman Mink probably can add to that it's not sitting around and not doing much. It's actually a pretty busy job. And the consistency of having a single officer be able to work and build a rapport with the school staff, the superintendent, the administration portion of it, that's just as strong as building that rapport with the children as well in those schools. So basically what I'm asking is that, out of the funds that are available, that we do seek out and we do find those funds, and we put this into place. And I think it's something that each school has worked hard and have been very diligent in making this happen. And I would like to see the support of the council, and we can find that ability to make that. I think it's a pretty minimal cost when we're talking about 2 officers.
Any questions?
Would these be 2 new officers, Sheriff?
2 additional officers.
Yes.
And yes, it would. And that's what I would be asking for, so that way we don't miss the coverage or the work on the road, or that we don't be placed in a scheduling bind, things like that.
Right.
That these would be 2 additional officers. And, you know, the way the budget had to be, and I hate to say it, or not say that, but the budget had to be written in the grant application. It was for 2 new hires, or two new people in those positions. And once we step into this role and we start moving forward, I don't think we'll be eligible for that grant.
Okay.
To have the total income for the school and for the benefits, things like that. So this is something that we would, you know, it would be a recurring cost for the next several years until the schools found the entire financing, or, you know, and the partnership is nice because we get those officers back to emergencies, from emergencies to the summer break, Christmas break, Christmas, that time of year, as well as summer and spring break, unless those officers want to take their vacation, things like that, and schedule with the schools. But we do get those officers back as county officers, and they're merit deputies, and they will be available to work the county fair. They'll be available to work, you know, emergency details. They'll be available in the summertime to be the additional officers out there on the road. So it's something that, you know, we will benefit from it. And for the $42,000, we couldn't hire a part-time person to fulfill that and get that same service and tenure.
Would these 2 officers require the addition of 2 new vehicles?
No.
Okay.
At this point in time, we are, the additional, wouldn't take any additional equipment. And all the additional equipment, obviously, is absorbed by what we've already purchased through the federal inmate program. Vehicles, body armor, all that. You know, we do a fantastic job, and I can let Ashley talk about, you know, where all the funds come from. But commissary and the different avenues that we have there at the facility, we pay for all the body armor. We apply for the grants, get the 50% reimbursement back on body armor. Uniforms are paid for. You know, so all those other costs are absorbed in a lot of different ways that doesn't affect county budget and helps us reduce the budget, and the fact that we don't have to ask for that. Would it lead to additional cars down the road? Possibly,
Yeah.
possibly. But as of right now, we have all the vehicles, and plus we're still waiting on 7 vehicles to come in that'll be in probably in the next month.
Sheriff Kelly, I have a question. At Clinton Central, there's 2 buildings there, so how is that handled?
They'll be back and forth between the 2. I wish that we could put an officer in every building, but, you know, if fiscally it's not reasonable right now, if you want to give me that ability, I will do that. I will gladly find an officer to put in that building. But with the dual campuses, it does get difficult. And we kind of run into that, and I'll let you pick Councilman Mink's mind. He has some of the same things. They may be connected, but we're talking such a far distance.
Yes.
So the one officer in the building and the vehicle parked in the parking lot at the front entrance becomes a deterrent. It becomes something that people will look at and see in that movement of that officer. Like I say, it's not a sit-down job. I mean, you are busy from, you know, I'm sure the time the buses unload to the time they load and leave the building, and it doesn't even end there, because then you have bus patrols, things like that. But it is difficult, and it's when you have the larger campuses, you're going to be on the move. And I wish we did have the ability to put those in there, so if we can add them, I'd add them gladly, but it's difficult.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Sheriff, I know we're always worried about finances, but I'm also worried about the kids. Is there any special job requirements or job descriptions or minimum standards for the officers that are going to be placed in the schools? Or are they going to be new, if they're new hires, I guess I'm questioning, do you have a minimum standard before you put them in the school building of experience and character and some other things like that? I mean,
Absolutely. The biggest fear is putting somebody into a job that they just start.
Yeah.
The good thing is we have a minimum of 2 seasoned veterans that want that position.
Okay.
And we're talking about officers that have 10-plus years on here at the sheriff's office. So they'll interview for the jobs, and basically it'll be a coin toss which schools that they go to, but we do have 2 veteran officers. But as far as the training goes, actually the training is more so than an officer that doesn't become a school resource officer. There is required training. There will be required training, I'm sure, through the schools as well. And we've talked about that on their end of administrative things. But actually, it'd be more training. And the SRO program, we send them to training. They have to recertify every year. And that's something that we currently have done for since 2019 at minimum. We add that extra training and the capabilities, and so they do get more training. And I am also aware and understand your question of somebody brand new to the community, putting them in there. We won't have that issue because we have officers that have the 10-plus years that are actually wanting to be part of the school system. So that will make it easier for us.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping to hear, so, yeah.
Absolutely.
So they have the training to handle mental health issues and things like that?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a part of the training that they get on a regular basis. Every officer, from local to state to the sheriff's offices across the state, that is a part of the mandatory training now, is that de-escalation as well as mental health, things like that. So, and it's part of it today.
Good, thank you.
Sheriff, presumably there'll be a document of some kind or a contract that would,
Yes, there's a
Memorialize-
memo of understanding between the school and the sheriff's office, and I know that there's been a lot of contention about these, whether it's a contract, a memo of understanding, an agreement, things like that. We do have that, and I have not signed it, and I will share that when we have final approval, and I've talked to the schools that, I'll share that with you folks as well here, and as well as the
well, I'd sure
commissioners.
like to be a signatory to that, to be honest with you, because we're talking about a commitment over multiple years. And I can think of one scenario that I really want to see how it's written in the document, and that is, we're asking the schools to fund a salary that we're gonna set the raises for. And
Right.
so, for instance, I just think that what pops into my mind is, what if they didn't agree with our decision to do 10% last year?
Right. Well,
know?
and I've
So-
talked to that with the school administrators, and and I think it was unprecedented in this last year's budget, or this year's budget, that, even in the times that we are in, the county, the council was, had worked with everybody and 10% across the board, and we didn't see that in other areas. But I think that is also part of the salary process for us, and they'll meet it, but
Well, I just
I'll
think
gladly make sure that's a
that
point in.
document's gonna be really important, I
Yes.
think, to make sure everybody's on board, because we're essentially taking some of their board's
Right.
role, and so I wanna see how that's written. Jordan, you had your hand up.
Yeah.
So, you weren't at the meeting when actually Sean brought this to the commissioners back
Right.
in the fall, but we conditionally approved the additional hires, but that the contract comes to the county.
Okay.
And so, that,
Right.
for the memorandum.
Absolutely, and that's what we've discussed with the schools and their attorneys, and honestly, I'll let their attorneys contact your attorneys, and you guys can work that out, and we can figure it out. And, and if that's something that the county requires or demands, then, we'll put that in front of the schools, and it'll have to be.
Well, I
acted
just
on.
don't want any unexpected, landmines later, because we didn't have some things in writing.
Yeah,
up
absolutely.
Front, so, but, I'm 100% in favor of moving forward with this. I just wanna make sure we've got the i's dotted and t's crossed, so.
Because I'll say I saw the Clinton Curry's first version, and I'll explain that here in a second, but I don't want the media to twist my words here. I 100% support this, as someone that has nephews, nieces, and kids that are gonna be in school soon. But our job is to protect the county's best interest. So we have to look at that agreement from a holistic point of view, and the original agreement didn't have protection for the sheriff's office at all, or the county. It didn't even have the terms of when payment was due, how it was due, all the specifics of it that a contract needs to have, so that everybody in the future is on the same page.
That's a good question. Britt, would it be possible in a situation like this to withhold from a distribution? Or would it require the money going to them and then getting a check back?
I'm not sure how we're gonna do that, to be honest.
Okay. I'll let anybody else speak. I'm totally on board with moving forward, but let's make sure we gotta know what all the details are. I guess I would be kinda similar to maybe what the commissioners have said. I would be willing to entertain a motion of contingent approval based on the contract, that we would, let the commissioner sign on behalf of the,
So moved
County.
what Alan said.
I'll second.
This will, and with that, I do want, and I was going to wait until, and I appreciate the approval. The school also has their own contingencies as
Yes,
well, that
yes.
I think, this may be more of a meeting for a group of a commissioner and some councilmen and sitting down with Clinton Prairie and Clinton Central Schools. And traditionally, this would be a precedent that the council or commission would have any signatories on the memo of understanding with the sheriff's office.
That's not complete.
Well, and
I
I,
have three
Yeah.
that
the council sign,
as
and-
well as the mayors and commissioners.
and that's only with I working with one attorney that represents several different schools. So, I mean, and, and Jordan it's probably true that they do have other consignatories, consigners on it, and that's something that, I'm open to.
yeah.
And
Well, my thinking
the
here is
school
nobody
has,
everybody wants this to work.
Yes.
So I don't think it'll be confrontational.
right, I don't think so either.
I think it'll be good to have,
Right.
the more people sign it, the better.
I agree, and I think that maybe I'll have that conversation with the school and have the school reach out to yourself and also the commissioners. And
Yeah,
we
I'm
can,
happy to help however you need.
because we've bounced back and forth what the sheriff needs and what the schools need, and we've talked about the additional, information put on there, the signers, the folks that are going to agree to the money and things like that. I have no issue with it. So I think it's something that we can make happen. And I
Well,
think
we-
the schools will see the same.
We've got a motion, so Carol made the motion, I don't remember
I
who had the second.
seconded
Second by Clark, that we will give contingent approval of the funding for the two school resource officers, contingent upon the approval of a written contract or memorandum of understanding.
One last thing before we vote. Question. Occurred to me, since the schools are paying the salaries, do they have some say so in the dealings with the deputy who is the county's employee in terms of
Direction and oversight.
direction and oversight? Yeah.
The direction and oversight is the county's. It's the sheriff's office. It's
And that'll be spelled out in.
as a merit deputy, they have different, they have their merit rules and the things that they have to apply by. There also is school rules and things like that. So, and make it simple. If the deputy was standing there smoking a cigarette, he would probably fall into the same, disciplinary process is what they would say, and it would come to me. Then I would do implement the discipline at what the school, and support the school in their discipline as well.
Okay, so in other words, am I hearing you right, that you'll uphold all of your current disciplinary actions and anything new or unusual that might be on the policies of the school?
Yes, and that would be included in what the expectations of the sheriff's office
And they'll
would
sign
be
off on
for
that.
them. Yes.
Okay, good question.
Okay.
Very
Can
good
I ask
question.
Yeah.
When you looking to start this, at the first of next school year or as soon as possible?
We'd like to as soon as possible.
Okay.
I mean, and I get it. We'll see you next month when we have another council meeting. And, I don't expect executive sessions, things like that, or a special session. And I think that, by the end of next month, and it kind of gives us something to work on for for the rest of the school year, and then get things polished into next year.
One more question then, too. With, like we heard from NHK, how hard is it to get people to apply for deputy positions right now? Or is it difficult?
Well, I would love to, no, it's not.
Okay, good.
And and I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think there's a lot of reasons why. It's our community, we have an open process right now where we have 35 plus applicants, and, and it's fantastic for that. I mean, we have two positions that we have to fill that are merit positions, and we have two federal inmate positions to fill, that federal inmate fund that is going to pay for. And if we do the additional officers, and we could fill 6, and we'll see after next month if that's going to be the case. But we definitely have 2 positions to fill as a merit deputy. We have 2 positions to fill, so 4 total that we got to fill. And we have over 30 applicants, And that's that's pretty outstanding, you know, for our community. But I also think, you know, I think they look at the salary that was approved for this year. They look at equipment, they look at training, they look at the atmosphere of the county. And you know, and I have to say, there's going to be a lot of growth. There's a lot of future here in this community. So with that, you know, we do have 30-plus applicants that have applied for a minimum of 4 positions. And the applicant pool is fantastic so far. So, you know, we do have a good response, and I think we talked about it last year during the budget time, was that's how we attract people, is that, you know, we have to step into that place of the salary, benefit packages. And, you know, we have to talk to the commissioners about a benefit package for the retirees that we've talked about, and we get into a lot of different work, but it's something that a lot of applicants look at. So our salary for this year and the future of benefit packages, things like that, it's something that does attract employees. So,
Okay.
you know, so the consistency of the council and, you know, commissioners and the sheriff's office, I mean, we have brought in quite a few applicants, and it's nice to see.
Okay, good, thank you.
I want to say that I would be more than willing to call special meeting to expedite so that we can move forward. So
Fantastic.
don't take that off the table.
I won't.
Do what we can
I'll
to
talk
get it
to,
done quickly.
I'll talk to both superintendents today, and we'll see if we can get something set up in the next few days. If not, and if nothing else, we can get on the phone and do either a Zoom or a phone conference call, and we can get together. So,
Real quick, I will say, one of our schools is working on a time frame just because they're operating on the school grant. And so their grant cycle ends at the end of June, so they have some money from this school year's grant cycle that they need to
pay.
shuffle our way for this position for the next grant cycle, so there's no carryover in that grant,
Okay.
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
money talks.
Money
Sooner the
talks,
better.
yeah.
Well, I'll send it to. I'll talk to him today, and obviously, hopefully, I know a couple folks are watching, and I think it's something that we can absolutely find the, you know, the signature page and get it taken care of and get a commitment. So I appreciate the council's time, appreciate the commissioner's time on this, and I think it's something that's
Let me get your
absolutely-
vote first, because we've got the vote,
Okay.
that we've got it on the table here. All those in favor of that motion we discussed, raise your right hand. All right, that motion carries 7-0. Now we're official. So, great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And like I say, but we do have the process open, and it was surprising to see that many applicants. You know, and this day and age, as far as, you know, from law enforcement, just jobs in general, we heard NHK, and we get bombarded with a lot of things. We actually have a waiting list of hirees for the sheriff, for the jail, the corrections portion, and with the 30-plus applicants for the merit positions, you know, something's moving right in Clinton County, and, you know, and I think it takes, you know, a team of people, from council and commissioners to, you know, the local prospects, and I think a lot of people weigh in a lot on that, so, you know, I'm happy to see it, and it's gonna be a fantastic year.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do I have Rodney in the room? There he is.
Yeah,
Rodney,
Rodney's here.
Rodney Wan, request for 2 new full-time positions. This goes back to, was it last month? I think Rodney gave us that really, really great email that kind of gave us some history that led up to where we are now and his recommendations for what we needed to do moving forward. And I think this is going to be step 1 on trying to implement some of those recommendations.
Thank you, Alan. I'm passing out what basically is the second step in. I've already spoke with the commissioners to get approval for the reorganization, but of course, it's rather meaningless without the financial support of it as well. So I had to do a lot of pencil sharpening and thinking and looking at how I would do that as far as the reorganization goes. And the first caveat I will say is one figure missing out of that, which I roughly figured in my head this morning, was 3% per that I didn't include in that, but I believe that's the figure. And so that comes to about $3,200, I think, for the 2 positions. So one of which is expanding a part-time role, which we've had for, I'd say, 30 years or more through the outreach that we've done at the hospital all those years in the immunization clinic. Through the relocation of our immunization clinic, through the COVID situation, and through the demand for more and more immunizations, that position really needs to be expanded to cover what's all now being done by that individual. Currently, they are working only about 21 hours a week from our normal budget. So that's where you see the figures start at. You'll see that I'm looking, and in this case, I'm asking this individual, and I have already spoken. They already have extended hours beyond 4 p.m., which is critical for immunization delivery. And he agreed that he'd like to work 35 hours a week. So you'll see that that's what I calculated that based off of as well.
Okay.
So in this current situation, we have a certain amount we're already paying them. We're looking to expand their hours into 35 and then paying them basically an extrapolated salary there of what their hourly rate is. And then adding under that the necessary Social Security and Medicaid and PERF that will be needed. Now, the other one is a new position. Basically, I look at it either way when you're talking about reorganizing. You're taking what was a part-time saddlebag for many, many years, over 20 that I know of, as the administrative role, and finally fully developing it into a permanent position to help with many of the roles of that administrator, as I've said, is budgeting. It's looking into strategizing for the future. It's community meetings and task force and committees that folks want the health department to be on, that representative really needs to be there in order to do that. And having served the part-time role 8 years, I tell you, I struggle each and every day. I never have a set schedule. Each day I'm having to turn around and reassort it based off of what the demands are, whether it be for my normal role or the administrative, and both suffer throughout that process. So that is the real reason for the ask. The other ask of it all is really to position us for the future growth of the health department. That administrative role is going to be very critical to working with the commissioners and the council and state government if we see any of this trickle down coming from the legislative increase that we might be seeing. So I'll stop at that and entertain questions, concerns.
Much like Todd's question to the sheriff, would you envision this next budget cycle or starting immediately?
I would like to definitely start the immunization position immediately.
Okay.
I'm flexible on the other. I've never done this. I defer to your wisdom. I want to do what's best for you and us at the same time. Obviously, that figure's a yearly figure, and we're already partially through a year. So obviously, the first year that would be adjusted depending on when that actually went into effect as well. So currently, also the immunization nurse we're still paying through some grant funding as well to extend those hours. So we're doing it through some leftover COVID money. So we're going to carry that through until June 30th. So that means we're not actually going to spend all of that money this year on that position as well. So
Would your intention be that you would move into the full-time administrator position? Would you continue, would that open the environmental
yes,
position? Okay.
for the next 2 years, I envision hoping to anchor that position down and develop it fully.
But we would have an open position that we would
Yes.
need to advertise to
Yes.
fill for environmental?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
As I'm already looking to fill a new food inspector, as we had a tendered resignation, and so yeah, it'll be busy.
Okay.
Hiring the folks, but I think it would be good practice for what I think I foresee some of which coming down the road when we're talking, as you and I and Jordan know, even if they only perhaps double my budget, we're talking a significant increase that's going to include additional services and probably more staff at some point. So
Well, regardless of whether the state gives us any more, Rodney's budget's healthy.
Yes.
He's got the money to do this. And we do have, I think, very full expectation that we're going to get some additional funding to some degree,
Yeah.
potentially significantly more, that this would put us in a tremendous position to be able to utilize.
Utilize it immediately.
Having all the money with no personnel to utilize it makes no sense, so.
and as go ahead.
Carol.
Alan, I would just like to throw my support for this project. I've been working in public health for the last 20 years here in Clinton County, and what Rodney is proposing is definitely needed in our community as we're growing. And My only caveat is that, Rodney, you cannot leave in 2 years. You have to do this for another 10.
Okay.
Because what Rodney has been able to do in his job, part-time, is phenomenal. And we do need more immunization time in our community. We have a lot of catching up to do from the COVID period of time when immunizations weren't happening. And I think we do need this, full-time health administrator position. If we get the Senate Bill 4, if we get that money, it's gonna even be more important
Yeah.
that, that Rodney is in a position to do all this oversight. And he is required to be in a lot of community meetings. That takes a lot of time, and I'm sure he does a lot of his part-time work at night.
Yeah.
So I would.
Well, I think to add to what you're saying, in the community, you want somebody who's going to do that. You have other health departments in other counties that don't find a way to make the time to do the community partnership, and that's what's making the difference in this
Absolutely.
community. So to turn your back on that and say, no, I'm just going to sit here and get my work done and not reach out and do that part, it's terrible. So, I mean, it's critical at this point.
You mentioned you'd already gone to the commissioners, so you'd already approved contingent on council funding? Correct, okay. So this would be the last step. Any other questions, comments? As always, great numbers, thank you, appreciate that. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
To approve presumably, okay. Have a motion by Mike and a second by Jeff to approve the additional full-time positions as presented by Rodney. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0.
you.
Rodney, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
everything you do.
So we'll follow up with the ensuing additional
Yep.
appropriations.
Yep,
then.
work with the auditor's
Okay.
office to get that advertised.
All right, thank you very
Okay.
much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rodney, for all you do.
All right. That gets us to the old business, additional appropriations. As usual, if you guys will help me stay on track. Sure. It's a lot of pages.
Gotta get on track first. There we go.
Okay, county general. I don't see a number that matches that right off the bat. I have $448.69, which is a grant reimbursement. This is one where we need to issue a reimbursement check to the commissary fund. This is for the bulletproof vests. The next one, $218,018.05. This is the money that we appropriated as a council last year for the boiler and chiller project here in the courthouse, and that is not all complete yet, so we needed to pull forward the remaining balance that wasn't spent last year forward to the '23 budget. In the sheriff's office jail budget, $151.74, a medical reimbursement, and then a second reimbursement for $247.92. That goes back into the medical line. Prosecuting attorney, $3,500 for an additional stipend for bilingual services in the victim's advocate office. Let's see, and I believe that's all for county general, totaling a grand total of $222,165.63. Firearms training fund in the sheriff's office, $1,600.95 for some additional ammunition. Community corrections fund, misdemeanor fund, $700, implementation of a police academy for kids. That might be a good story for you. From the public defender fees, $3,136.58. This is, I always try to make it clear, this is the money that we have recovered as restitution from people who've had to post bond or go on parole. As a condition of the parole, they have to pay back a portion of the proper attorney fees. So that's what this is from Judge Moeller's court. From the Lit Correctional Facility, we've got a restitution from some damage caused by an inmate, $273.04. Here's the next one, the cash, the opioid restricted fund monies that we've talked about over the last couple of months. This is the official appropriation of the $103,136.79. That represents the restricted funds. And we've already discussed how those funds will be used in previous meetings. Then we have a series from the surveyor's office of the drainage fees that are assessed in Clinton County, drains that are managed by Clinton County but assessed in other counties. $750 from, I'm not sure which county that is, for the George Blinn drain. Boone County sent us a check for $1,640.66. Tipton County sent us a check for $824.99 for the Leslie Johnson drain. Carroll County sent us a check for $431.85 for the J. Lip drain. Carroll County also sent us $223.32 for the J. Milner drain. And Tippecanoe County sent us $159.20 for the Arborist Young drain. Joe Root would ask for Veterans Affairs for $3,000 for the purchase of some new pavers and additional flags for the monument out here outside the courthouse. And much like we did earlier with the courthouse here, for the federal inmate fund, we're going to move forward the remaining monies for the boiler and chiller project that were not expended in 2022. That was $454,317.55 so that we can finish that project in 2023. From the Child Support Incentive Fund and the Clerk's Office, $214.50 for some maintenance on a check folding machine. And that is the additional appropriation slate. Does anybody have any questions on any of those? Okay,
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion by Clark, a second by Jeff to approve the additional appropriation ordinance 2023-04. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. We have just a couple, 2 or 3 transfers that we need to do. Beginning in the Highway Department, $6,000. There's actually two different ones, each for $6,000 going to the extra help line item, and that's, as you know, Joe Osler's retiring, and we have a replacement person selected, and there for a period of time, they're going to work side by side as sort of a job shadowing, job training, and this will put the money in place to pay for that extra person for a short period of time. And then in probation, $10,000 from MRT to probation officer line item, where we had one probation officer fall short in the 23 grant cycle. And then I guess we had last one, Sheriff's Department, $51,000 from the adult education instruction position to the jail coordinator position. Sheriff, can you speak to that real quickly? It sounds like maybe we just created a new title or a new position, or we just moved one salary line to another line. Ashley, can you speak to that? Okay, so that's okay. We had $51,000 that we're transferring from the adult education instruction position to the jail coordinator position.
Yeah, so that's, the DOC grant did away with non-evidence-based, they did away with the adult education, that's why we increased our jail clerk salary, because it's part of her duties now. That is our JCAP coordinator position that started yesterday. So, because it's evidence-based programming, that is still allowed by the DOC grant, and so her salary is contained in that. And like I said, she started yesterday, and we're excited.
Okay, great.
It actually comes from the JCAP program from the Allen County Jail.
Okay,
So,
awesome, thank you.
Yep.
So that is your slate of transfers. Any questions on any of those? All right, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Motion by Jeff, second by Joe to approve the transfer slate. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. All right. You had in your packet the financial report and budget status report as of, I don't know if that's through the end of February or through today. Yeah, end of February. I'd entertain a motion that has been received.
That has been received.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Jeff and a second by Joe that we've received the monthly reports from the auditor. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Any council reports? Anybody attend any meetings or events on?
Do we also need to do the budget status report?
I did them both as one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Nope, that's okay.
Alan, I attended the Sharp Committee.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share with the rest of the council that that program is really doing great work. They had a report that over the last 6 years, over $1 million has been used
Wow.
in Clinton County, mostly in Frankfurt, but in the county. And this is for seniors and people with disabilities to help them with projects in their home. And so while that project is helping people individually, it's also improving the housing stock in our community. So that's kind of an amazing, amazing amount of money that we don't even realize is happening.
Thank you for that. Any others? Okay. Commissioners report. Anything else, Jordan? Great. Any department heads need time with the council? Renee?
Here shortly, we will be activating the tornado sirens in conjunction with the statewide testing for severe weather preparedness
Do we have
week.
to run for cover?
Yes. So, but it should be around 10:15, so we will activate those and do our roll call like we do each month.
Okay.
So it'll be a full activation, so it's going to be approximately 5 minutes instead of the 30-second test that we do on this first Saturday of each month. So just a heads up for that.
Okay.
And then our other thing, I know last month during my report, I had told you we were supposed to last year do the total hardware refresh for our phone system with 911 and all of our equipment, and then that had been on hold. I had last year had it budgeted, and I had made my I think it was 25% that I had to pay when we made the initial agreement and to get things ordered, and then it just had been, we didn't know when.
Yeah, right.
And I actually had a conference call last week, and we're going to do another one now that Tim's back on Thursday. The equipment is actually in,
Good.
finally. I mean, literally, it's been a year, probably since it was ordered. So we are hoping next month, but I just wanted to go ahead and let you know, I will be submitting an additional
Okay.
for that. So once I know the exact, whether it's going to be at the end of this month when I need to get it sent in or next month, but I'll make sure to get it in before it's due.
Right.
So they can do the advertisement, but I did want to let you know that.
Great. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes, so other
Okay.
than that, I don't think I have anything.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other department heads? I think maybe we've heard from everybody that's here. All right, I'll open it up to anybody have anything that needs to be brought before the council.
Ask your question.
There was a document on our desks about Wildcat.
Oh, did I miss one?
Do we need to act on that?
It doesn't need to be approved, but I had gotten it and I hadn't seen anything else.
Okay.
So I'm just giving you a copy so that when you see it in the minutes,
Okay.
next month,
Okay,
you've
that's
seen
fine.
it,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, well, I know we had at least one member that needs to go, so I was trying to be done by 10. I made it.
You made it.
Barely. So I guess I have no other business, and seeing none from the gallery, we'll call the meeting adjourned. All right, thank you.
This is a good council. Getting some people that are speaking. Yeah. Asking some good questions, man.